Good morning, all of you. For my class 8 students, I am back with civics section and taking up chapter 2, that is understanding secularism. As the term itself defines freedom of religion. Because in the previous chapter, we discussed about the fundamental rights in the Indian Constitution, wherein fourth right was right to freedom of religion, which clearly defines that religious freedom is provided to all citizens. Every person has a right to practice, profess, and propagate the religion of their choice. And secularism very clearly defines that a secular state is one in which the state does not officially promote any one religion as the state religion. If you recall, in Nepal, the state religion was Hinduism, and people were bound to follow the same religion till monarchical form of government had been overthrown and democracy was established. So now Indian Constitution allows individuals the freedom to live by their religious beliefs and practices as they interpret these. India also adopted a strategy of separating the powers of the religion and the power of the state. Now, before I proceed to the next sentence, let me clarify that Indian Constitution has given the freedom to profess and practice the religion in whichever way we want. We means the citizens of the country. Whenever you go to a temple, most of the time you must be finding around people worshipping in different manners. Somebody is sitting there and chanting mantras, somebody is standing and simply looking towards the idol of whosoever god is there, and somebody sitting with a book, or people have their own various ways of worshipping god. So this freedom of practicing has been given by our Indian Constitution. Now, secularism refers to this separation of religion from the state. When we say that secularism is the principle of the separation of government institutions and the persons mandated to represent the state from religious institutions and religious dignitaries. One manifestation of secularism is asserting the right to be free from religious rule and teachings, or in a state declared to be neutral on matters of belief from the imposition by government of religion or religious practices upon its people. Now, most of the time, it had been brought to our notice that these acts of discrimination take place more easily when one religion is given official recognition by the state at the expense of other religions. Whereas clearly no one would wish to be discriminated against because of their religion nor dominated by another religion. So in our Indian context, when we talk about it, there is complete freedom of religion. Now, why is it important to separate religion from the state? It is important for a country to function democratically. When we talk about democracy, it has to go by it. Any form of domination based on religion is in violation of the rights that a democratic society guarantees to each and every citizen, irrespective of their religion. When we say this, it is evidently clear that we also need to protect the freedom of individuals to exit from their religion, embrace another religion, or have the freedom to interpret religious teachings differently. Now, here, if we go into detail, we are free to profess any religion. Say, for example, a person wanting to visit a church, although he is a Hindu, so he is free to visit. But at the same time, if he wants to adopt that religion, he is free to adopt that religion. And in the past, more often this was seen that when Anglo-Indian society was more prevalent in India, people were more inclined to get themselves converted into Christians, because at one point of time they were being provided several privileges if they were Christian, if they were Anglo-Indians. So for their own vested interest, maybe they were economically impoverished, so they wanted to change their religion, because in the name of religion, if they were economically impoverished or they belong to a backward community, and Brahmins of our Hindu society, they refused to perform the rituals for them, so they had no option rather to change their religion. Wherein in the 6th century BC, most of the people had got themselves converted to Jainism and Buddhism. They had adopted that religion because they never spoke about any rituals. They never spoke about any paraphernalia which is required for worshipping God. They simply spoke about 8 Tripitakas, 8-fold paths, truth, non-violence, and similar condition was here also. So, what were the objectives? One religious community does not dominate another. Some members do not dominate other members of the same religious community. State does not enforce any particular nor take away the religious freedom of individuals. So secularism in India also denotes that we are one. Most prevalent 3 religion: Hinduism, Christianity and Islam. So we are one. We also speak about this under the heading fraternity, universal brotherhood in our Indian Constitution preamble. Now, Indian secularism different from other democratic countries. How? There is one significant way in which Indian secularism differs from the dominant understanding of secularism practiced in United States of America. This is because, unlike the strict separation between religion and the state in American secularism, in Indian secularism, state can intervene in the religious affairs. Now here I would like to elaborate that when we speak about giving freedom of religion to the people, people have been given right to freedom of religion, whichever way they want to practice, whichever religion they want to profess or they want to propagate. But one important thing has been taken care of, that if one particular religion or people belonging to one particular religion are performing any rituals or any superstitious practices in the name of religion which are harmful to the society, or in any way they are abusive, then in that event the government, the state government, intervenes and takes care of it. It is very important that the laws relating to ensuring the dignity, rights are to be respected, should be emphasized upon. Now, in Indian secularism, though the state is not strictly separate from religion, it does maintain a principled distance vis-a-vis religion, which means that any interference in religion by the state has to be based on the ideals laid out in the Constitution. I repeat it again. Any interference in religion by the state has to be based on the ideals laid out in the Constitution. So if the Constitution has laid down certain terms, the state is bound to adhere to it. They cannot go against it. They have to go with it. Although, when we say this, it is related to the practices which are being performed by the people of one particular religion in the name of religion. And more or less, many a times it has been said that Indian secularism, though the state is not strictly separate from religion, it does maintain principled distance. So now Indian constitution guarantees fundamental rights that are based on these secular principles. The Indian state is secular and works in various ways to prevent religious domination. Which doesn't mean, of course, that there is no violation of these rights, whereas they happen quite often. And who's going to take care of it? The constitutional mechanism takes care. And while talking about the three organs of the government, which was the constitutional mechanism, the third organ of the government, judiciary, more or less. So it takes care of this. Now there is one significant way in which Indian secularism differs from the dominant understanding of secularism practiced in the United States of America. This is because, unlike the strict separation from religion and the state in American secularism, in Indian secularism, the state can intervene in the religious affairs. So, as I mentioned earlier, government has been given the right to interfere and intervene and make sure that it is being practiced properly without harming the society at large. And within these religious groups, there is most likely that one group is in majority, and if this group generally has an access to the state power, then it could quite easily use this power and financial resources to discriminate against and persecute persons of other religions. So this tyranny of the majority could result in discrimination, coercion, and at times even killing of religious minorities. So this should not happen. The majority could quite easily prevent minorities from practicing their religion. And any form of domination based on religion is in violation of the rights that a democratic society guarantees to each and every citizen, irrespective of what? Irrespective of their religion. So then we are in a position to attain a secular India, when everybody's rights have been guaranteed. The tyranny of the majority and the violation of the fundamental rights can result in one or the other hassles, wherein it is mandatory for the government to take care of everybody's religion, because India is a country where we are having a number of religions. Predominantly, as I spoke earlier, Hinduism, Islam, and Christianity. So these religions are predominant, but other than that, we have many other religions like Sikh, like Jainism, Buddhism, and many of those who don't believe in any religion. Different kinds of social hassles are there. So keeping all that in view, our government has taken special care to ensure that a secular state is established by giving importance to each and every religion, and also so as to state that it keeps equal distance from all the religions. It does not favor a particular religion. This, even if you want to take into account from the time immemorial when we talk about Akbar's religious policy. In Akbar's religious policy, Deen-e-Ilahi also, he had spoken the same thing, that keeping equal distance from all the religious groups. So finally, in the end, what we get to conclusion before I get on to talking about the assignment. Secularism means separation of religion from political, economic, social, and cultural aspects of life. Religion being treated as a purely personal matter. It emphasized disassociation of the state from religion and full freedom to all religion and tolerance of all religion. During British rule in India, Indians were not allowed to do the exhibitionism of their own religious beliefs. For example, putting a tilak or tika on their forehead before going for a battle, or even the Islam community, they were not allowed to have their black color armband, which they were quite whimsical about, but they were not allowed because they were not given any religious freedom. So, secularism is a belief system that rejects religion or belief that religion should not be the part of affairs of the state or part of public education. So, when we get into this, we say that yes, secularism in India has been established, and with the 42nd Amendment of the Constitution of India enacted in 1976, this had been ensured. And finally, I can sum it up with the statement saying that secularism seeks to ensure and protect freedom of religious belief and practice for all citizens. Clear? Secularism is mainly concerned with controlling religion. So somehow, if we are talking about secularism in Indian context, this is all about it, wherein Indian Constitution mandates that Indian state be secular. It's something where religious communities does not dominate. One religious community does not or should not rather dominate on another community. Members should give equal respect to all the religion or religious beliefs prevailing in the country, and the state does not enforce any particular religion nor take away religious freedom of its individuals. They have not been given this right because this right vests with the people at large. People had been committed, had been guaranteed by the Constitution under the fundamental rights. One major fundamental right was right to freedom of religion. In that event, we are free to worship in whichever way we want to worship God, whichever way we want to practice our religion. If we are wanting to keep fast for 9 days, if we are wanting to keep fast for 40 days, we are free to do this. Government is not going to come in between. But yes, if it leads to any kind of disharmony or if it leads to any kind of harm or abuse to the society, yes, of course, the state has reserved those rights to intervene. Now, talking of assignment, a small assignment I've given. Make a poster depicting Indian secularism and define the term. It's very simple. Indian secularism, your creativity is certainly going to come out, and you can think or visualize, or of course you can go through other sources of information from wherein you can take those ideas and then make a poster on A4 size sheet or whichever is available with you. Biology paper, as I have been most of the time telling you, need not to run around in haste, but whatever is available, procure that. Drawing copy, plain paper, chart paper, or anywhere. Poster should be colorful. Make a colorful poster. And of course, use vibrant colors. You can use watercolors. And along with it, write the definition of secularism. define the term secularism. With this, we come to the end of this chapter. Assignment is given. Also, I'm going to give you a PowerPoint presentation which you would be asked to make on secularism in the world scenario. In a larger perspective, you would be making a presentation, few slides, almost minimum 10 slides should be made, wherein it should be self-explanatory. Along with this chapter, I would be posting this PowerPoint presentation assignment. I hope I could make you understand, because this was an extension of the first chapter wherein we had discussed secularism as a reference or as an introduction, and here vivid description of secularism has been done. So with this, thank you. Stay safe, stay healthy.